Hey, YouTube fam, Jamal here. This is another part of the fantastic interview I had with CEO of BEEM Global, Desmond Wheatley. Don't forget to check out my channel page for more of the interview. We had a really great conversation and you don't want to miss it. And while you're here, you might as well go ahead and hit that like and subscribe. And with that said, let's jump back into the interview. What is the interface like for the customer who might be using Tesla's interface or ChargePoint's interface or any of them? What's that like for them with that experience where usually they would be being charged per kilowatt hour or something of that nature?
Do you know, it's exactly the same. We don't get involved in that piece. So I'll tell you, our EV ARC products are supporting chargers out there that some people are charging for the charging. Our EV ARCs are supporting chargers out there, some people are giving it away. Our EV ARCs are supporting chargers where some people are restricting access to it, maybe only employees or maybe only guests. Some of our EV ARCs are supporting chargers that are saying you can only charge for 1 or 2 hours. Others are just saying you can charge for as long as you like. That part of what I love about our place in this business is that we've said, hey, it's too early to say who the winners and losers are going to be in this thing, right? Think back to the very early days of the internet, right? Remember all the companies that were just, the sock puppet on the Super Bowl ads and all these other things like that? You're probably too young to remember this stuff, but I remember. The fact is no one knew who was going to win and lose, but you know who won? People who put in the infrastructure that made the internet work. They all won because it didn't matter what these companies were doing. The underlying infrastructure was important. Well, we've positioned ourselves so that no matter which EV charging companies do well or do badly, whether they're charging for it, giving it away, or whatever else they're doing, we do well because we're providing a product that delivers the infrastructure that makes their business model work. And we know we're going to see some failures. We're going to see some others do fantastically well. What we need to do is make sure that we continue to deliver them a reliable, low-cost, rapidly deployed solution so they can scale up their business really dramatically. And believe me, no one in the industry can touch us. I'd encourage you and your viewers to spend 5, 10, 15 minutes, an hour, 10 hours, I don't care how long you spend, on Google or on the internet, and try and find any solution that deploys anywhere near as fast as we are, not marginally better. I'm talking about anywhere near as fast as we are. Try and find any solution that's as robust. Try and find any solution which is as broadly deployed and being used in so many different ways as ours. And if you find it, please write to me. Desmond.Wheatley@beamforall.com. I want to hear about it because we have not seen it yet. And just to back that up, we have won multiple contract awards, City of New York, State of California, State of Massachusetts, State of Florida, and multiple others in which we were part of a competitive bidding process. They wrote specifications. They said, hey, do you have something that's rapidly deployed, doesn't require construction, will survive power outages, has no utility bill and all that sort of stuff? And we responded. And Jamal, we were the only responsible bidder. In other words, we were the only bidders that had the solution that worked. It wasn't sole source to us. It was competitive, but we were the only vendor that had a solution that worked. And we've got lots of really good patents defending our position in that market. So this is not a if question for us. It's a when question. Okay. The if is not in question at all. It's just a question of when. And I can tell you that what we're seeing right now going on in the market with the adoption of electric vehicles, fantastic new products, the F-150 Lightning, the GM 1,000 horsepower Hummer, the Mustang, all these new vehicles, no longer about Teslas and Leafs anymore. Now it's about the kind of vehicles that Americans and the rest of the world want to drive. We're seeing adoption rates kicking off in a way that you can't imagine. And that's why our pipeline is bigger than it's ever been in our history. And you're going to see a good 2021, but it's going to, in my opinion, going to pale into insignificance when viewed from 2022. And that will go on year after year after year for at least the next couple of decades.
Wow. There's so much there that I want to ask you about. But I think where I want to start is, if I'm correct, the EV ARC carries about 265 e-miles in charging. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
So how can you speak a little bit to how the technology is improving? Because when I first started looking at it, I believe the capacity was 250 e-miles. I remember getting an email from BEEM about the increase in 12% or something of that nature. And I at that time I was going back and forth with people in the comments about whether that's enough, right? And the difference between how many e-miles can be charged with one vehicle versus I believe that the EV ARC, can charge multiple vehicles at the same time, but with 265 e-miles over multiple cars, what's the utility of that? And so I believe in it, but I want you to speak a little bit to that point for our viewers.
Okay. No, those are great questions. Excellent questions. I'm really glad you brought them up because honestly, they're part of one of the major misconceptions about the whole business and the industry in general. But let me just start off by saying this. You probably already figured this out, Jamal, but I'm living proof of the fact that the dumbest guy ends up in charge. Okay, because I have some very, very clever engineers working for me. And what they were able to do this year, the reason we were able to make that move from 240 to 265 is because our engineers squeezed about another 12% of energy efficiency out of our products. In other words, they were able to take that sunlight and they were able to get 12% more of that sunlight energy, which you can't drive on, right? And turn it into electrical energy, which you can drive on and store it and deliver it to vehicles. So this is a very key and important thing to understand about us. Every year we get better. Our products get more energy dense. They deliver more electric miles. They become more effective for our customers every year. The grid stays the same. The digging the trenches, the pouring the concrete, the doing all that other work, that doesn't get better. That stays the same. And in fact, it's going to get harder. It's going to get more complicated because right now all the low-hanging fruit locations are being plucked. Places where there's a parking space right next to a source of power, someone's putting a charger. That's appropriate. I would do that too. But you quickly run out of those. And then you got to go to a space like that one in the picture that you see behind me. Now you're digging all the trenches. None of that's getting better. It's getting harder and more expensive to get through environmental impact and permitting and all the other things like that. Okay. But our products, like any other technology, think of the flat screen that's on your wall. Is that the same as the TV you watched when you were a kid? No, it's way better and it's less expensive. Okay, so that process is happening with our products and you're going to see more and more of that. But let me come to the other part of your question that you asked. This 265 driving miles, is that effective? Is that meaningful? I'm going to give you a couple of numbers which I hope is going to illuminate this. First thing to understand is that according to the Department of Transportation, not me, the DOT, Federal Department of Transportation. I got the jets flying overhead right now, by the way. I've got you can hear them. Yeah, that's the Marine Corps. Don't try and compete with them on any level at all.
Right, because you're coming from your factory, right?
I'm in my factory right now, and we're in the flight path of Marine Corps Air Station Miramar, which is great. It's exciting, but it's also kind of disruptive when you're on a call like this. But I'm not going to try and stop them, goodness knows. At any rate, let's get back to this 265 driving miles a day thing. The Department of Transportation tells us that the average US sedan drives 30.4 miles per day. Okay, not 31 miles, 30.4 miles per day. Also, that 8 out of 10 commuters, 8 out of 10, so it's not the average, not half of them, almost, well, 80%, almost all of them, frankly, require less than 24 miles for their round trip commute. So we've got average sedan driving 30.4 miles. We've got 8 out of 10 commuters on 24 miles or less than for the, and then the other big part of our business, as you know, is government fleet vehicles. And those are driving between 20 and 30 miles a day. These are good average numbers across the US, and they're pretty good across the globe, actually, except that in America, people drive a little bit more than they do in the rest of the world, but they drive less than they think they do. We all like to think that we're getting in the Conestoga wagon and going across the West and all that kind of stuff with our, great American road trip. But the truth of the matter is that hardly ever happens. So now take that 30.4 miles per day, or those 24 miles per day, and divide that into 265 and change your thinking about fueling. You're no longer fueling from this full vehicle that you fill up somewhere horrible while you wait around the gas station, and then driving it till it's nearly empty, and then going and finding another horrible gas station and waiting around while you fill it up again. You don't do that anymore. You do what I do and what any EV driver does, which is that you top that thing off every time that you can, just the same way you fuel your cell phone. Like we said, you don't go somewhere special to refuel your cell phone while you're waiting around. No one would use cell phones if you had to do that, right? No, you plug your EV in whenever there's a wire available. Anytime I've got my iPhone, I see a little white wire, I'm plugging it in. Even when it's full, I'll do that, right? Because I want to make sure it's full when I need it. Doing the same thing with your EV. So coming back to the EV product, if I can put 265 driving miles into vehicles that only need 30.4 miles per day, and if I charge them every day, which is what's normal in a workplace or a fleet environment or anything else like that, you can quickly see that I can charge quite a lot of Americans total average driving miles every single day from a single parking space, from nothing but solar energy, and with no grid connection. So the people who think that 240 or better now, 265 driving miles is not enough are still living in the 100-year-old model of driving their cars till they're empty and going to a gas station to fill it up. And what I'm going to tell you is, as an EV driver, you don't do that. You're going to top your vehicle off. We call this DRR, by the way, daily range replenishment. Every single day, just put back in the vehicle what you took out. You won't hurt the car. It doesn't hurt it at all to do that. And that way your vehicle's always full. And this thing people call range anxiety, I never suffer from range anxiety. My vehicle's full all the time because I'm always topping it off. The EV ARC is the perfect product for that. And when we set it up to charge as many as 6 vehicles at a time, and remember, it can reach 12 parking spaces from a single parking space product, right? When we set it up to charge 6 vehicles at a time, in a workplace environment like Google or Pfizer or Genentech or Johnson & Johnson, any of the other great workplace charging customers that we have, they could put 6 employees plugged into that thing in the morning. By the time they leave at the end of the day, they got their full commute back. So it's just like the vehicle is just like it was when they left in the morning. Okay, if it's a fleet operator like New York City or like the federal government or the state of California or any of these other people that we service, they're going to get 6 fleet vehicles fully recharged, ready for the next shift. Just by plugging into this great American product that we're making here. So the number is not the thing to fixate on, except that it works. The thing to fixate on is that there'll be a different fueling habit, and frankly, a much better fueling habit, because you're not wasting half your life driving at gas stations. Who wants to do that?
So you mentioned about concerns about that hurting your vehicle. I assume you're talking about kind of battery degradation.
Yes.
And a lot of people are very excited about, supercharging, fast charging. But can you tell us a little bit more about kind of level 1 and level 2 and which option is suitable for the EV ARC?
Yeah, well, so the answer is all 3. We do level 1, level 2, and DC fast charging, also sometimes called level 3. DC fast charging is like the gas station experience, right? You're going to plug in, you're going to hang around, and your car's going to fill up really, really quickly. So we're deploying that in California, for example, for Caltrans in rest areas, right? Only the strangest characters want to hang around in a rest area for 6 or 7 hours doing what only they will understand. And that's for a different show probably, right? But so for most people want to get in and get out. They want to get fueled up in the time that it takes them to have a pee and a sandwich or wash their hands or whatever, right? And so we do DC fast charging there. And in that case, what we actually do is we interconnect 4 EV ARCs together. It's all above ground again. There's no construction around with a pre-engineered interconnection. And then we put all the power from all 4 of them into your vehicle. And that way we can do it. We can charge you really quickly. That's like a gas station experience. And for a long drive, a corridor type drive, right? From San Diego to San Francisco or something like that. That makes a lot of sense. You're going to want to do that. The rest of the time, the type of charging I just described to you, where it's happening while you're doing something else, is going to much more than adequately fuel just about everybody. And so I'll say the supercharging thing, while it's popular at the moment because consumers, whenever a new technology comes out, they always want to make it look like the old technology because that's what they're comfortable with, right? So they want a kind of a gas station experience because I've been doing that my whole life and I want you to show me that again, right? They'll do that for a little while. DC fast charging kind of fills that gap for them. But eventually, they'll quickly figure out they don't need to do that. And here's the really important thing to think about. You're a money guy. Think about the money. Why would you pay a premium to fast charge your car when you can get it for cheap or nearly, or in some cases free, to charge it slowly, as long as the slow charging is good enough for what you want? Jamal, would you pay somebody $20 to get a gigabit of Wi-Fi when you can go to Starbucks and get it for free? No, because the free Wi-Fi in Starbucks is good enough. It's not a gigabit. Sure, it's not a gigabit, but it's good enough. And that's how charging will be. Charging will be everywhere. And as long as it's good enough, as long as it gives you that daily range replenishment, replaces how much energy it took you to get to that location, you're not going to pay somebody extra money to charge quickly. You'd be crazy to. And consumers are not crazy.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I didn't know that you could connect multiple EV ARCs and do that. So that's
Yep.
new.
By the way, we love it. I don't want to talk our customers out of doing that because we love it when they do that. It's really expensive. We make a lot more money when they do that. But I'm just telling you, for the broader industry and for the good of our, actually, I'll take that back. We don't love it when they do it. If we can talk them out of doing that, one thing that we commit to our customers, and this is for the long-term, sustainable, fundamental growth of this company. We always commit to our customers that once we've heard your needs, we will try to direct you towards the simplest and least expensive solution that will provide for your needs. What we will not try and do is sell you some shiny, expensive bullshit solution because it adds to our bottom line, because that's not how you build a long-term fundamental business. Sure, you get a short-term sugar rush from that kind of profit. But what we're interested in doing is creating a great company that deploys hundreds of thousands of these things across the world. And the way that you do that is by having everyone say, you know what, they treated us squarely and they delivered the product that worked for us. And they didn't try and sell us a bill of goods that we didn't need.
All right, YouTube fam. So that was part of my interview with Desmond Wheatley, CEO of BEEM Global. For the full interview, check out the links, check out my channel page. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.